Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
All right, and welcome to the GSMC Football Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. And as always, I am your host, Jesse Tapia. Man, I love doing the intro for this show, but nonetheless, all right, yeah, I'm your host. Here we are. It's Tuesday. Let's see. How many days has it been since our last football game? I think it's been at least 2 weeks. All right, I'm not good with the math. All right, so we spent 1 week. That's 7 days, 14 days. We are at day 15, 16. We are at day 17 without football. All right, we're fighting through it. We're getting better as we go. All right. And again, if you are looking to get into some other sports or whatever, go ahead and listen to the GSMC Sports Podcast. I'm on that one too. Or you can go listen to the GSMC Basketball Podcast if you're a basketball fan. But if you're strictly football, we'll be here till they kick me out, I guess. But nonetheless, here we are for today's show. Let me tell you what we got going on. Okay. As you know, for the last two, we've been talking about teams, what it's going to take for them to get to a Super Bowl and win it. All right, we've been ranking, talking about each team. Now we're down to 8 teams. Today, we will be talking about the Dallas Cowboys, the Eagles, the Green Bay Packers, the New Orleans Saints, the LA Rams, New England Patriots, Pittsburgh Steelers, Kansas City Chiefs. Not sure what order I'm going to do. Not sure if I'm just going to break it up 4 teams one segment, 4 teams the second segment. We will be starting off this segment talking about teams, so I guess we'll see how it goes and what time permits, because if we run a little bit over, then we'll just move the other teams to the second segment. All right, Doug Martin was cut today. We'll be talking about pretty much him and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, what they do at running back, and maybe a Le'Veon Bell type guy works there, maybe. I don't know. So we'll be talking about that. We'll also be talking about the AFC South. Could that possibly be the division with the best quarterbacks? All right, so we'll be doing that. Let me see. I'm looking right now. I think the AFC South might just very well be. You know, maybe we'll just turn that into which division has the best set of quarterbacks, all right, all around. So we'll be doing that. And then as for the fourth segment, as we always do, all right, we'll be talking about anything else going on in the football world. Maybe I was having a conversation with Tate earlier. Maybe we'll talk about Bo Jackson. Maybe we'll throw some Deion Sanders in there. Like I said, it could be about anything in football that had to do with football, or just anything that runs through my mind. All right, maybe talking about Baker Mayfield getting compared to Johnny Manziel so much. But nonetheless, that's what the show is going to look like today. It's going to be a fun one, so let's get it started. All right, so which 4 teams should I pick? All right, let's see. Should we start off with the Super Bowl champs? I think we will. We'll go with the Super Bowl champs, Super Bowl runner-ups. Is that how you say it? Runner-ups? That sounds kind of weird. But anyway, we'll go with Philly. We'll go with New England. And then we'll go with the Rams and Kansas City. All right. And then for the second segment, we'll do, or like I said, right now we're going to start off with those 4 teams. If we have time, we'll do the others. If not, like I said, we'll push it to the second segment where we will do Pittsburgh, New Orleans, Green Bay. Am I missing a team? I said we're going to do New England, Philly, LA, and Kansas City. So we got Pittsburgh, New Orleans, Green Bay, Dallas, and I don't know, maybe I'm missing another team. But either way, let's get it started. Let's start off with the Super Bowl champs, all right? So you got the Philadelphia Eagles, Super Bowl champs. Nick Foles took them through the playoffs, got them to the Super Bowl, outplayed Tom Brady. Yes, I know, Tom Brady had the better stats, but the game goes beyond stats. Look at the throws that were made, and look who played well for the entire game, all right? Brady, yeah, in that first game, or in that first half, wasn't playing that well, if you remember, right? He was making a lot of deep passes, completing those, but that's just because the Philly cornerbacks couldn't cover someone who made a double move. But either way, we don't need to recap the Super Bowl anymore because we know how it happened. So like I said, getting back to it, Eagles finished off their season as Super Bowl champs. Now they've lost their quarterbacks coach and their offensive coordinator. Quarterbacks coach is headed to Minnesota, I believe, and the offensive coordinator is now the head coach for Indianapolis. All right. Thanks a lot, Josh McDaniels. I'm sure Indianapolis is a whole lot happier with the guy they got right now. But nonetheless, getting back to it. the Eagles. Is it easy for a Super Bowl champ to repeat? No, it is not. Let me see if I can pull up a list of Super Bowl champions who have repeated the year after. Obviously, I mean, that goes without saying because that's what repeated. But let's see, repeat winners. Let me see if I can pull it up here. I know, yeah. Let's see. I don't know. Might have to take a while. Let's see. History of back-to-back winners. We got the Green Bay Packers won Super Bowls 1 and 2. 1972-73 Dolphins won Super Bowls 7 and 8. The 1974-75 Pittsburgh Steelers did it. The 1978-79 Pittsburgh Steelers did it. The 1988-89 San Francisco 49ers did it. The 1992-93 Dallas Cowboys did it back-to-back. Then you had the Denver Broncos in 97-98. The Patriots winning it and 03 and 04 back-to-back, all right? So that's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 times it's been done, okay? 8 times. Do we think it could be done a 9th time? Honestly, I mean, it's not that far off, okay? The Eagles can go back to the Super Bowl, and they can win it, all right? Because let's not forget, they still got Nick Foles. And there's one thing about the Eagles, too, okay? Carson Wentz he said that he wants to be back by week 1, but I feel like getting him back at week 1 would be either he's really rushed or somehow he's got Adrian Peterson ACL ligaments or whatever, because Adrian Peterson came back quite fast and pretty much came back just as good as he was before he tore his ACL, but nonetheless, getting back to it. All right, so Carson Wentz, I believe, will be out till about week 3 to week 5. When he'll come back one of those weeks, all right, Nick Foles is probably because there's been talk about Nick Foles, what's going to happen to him. I think the Eagles are going to keep him. I don't see him going anywhere. I don't understand the reason as to why you trade a guy like that when your starting quarterback might not even be ready till week 5, possibly. All right, says he wants to be back week 1, but like I said, you're not even sure. No one's sure. It's all speculation. Okay, so as far as the Eagles season goes, I mean, Nick Foles can go out and win you some games. Obviously, we don't know what the schedule is looking like or anything like that, but nonetheless, I mean, I think that Nick Foles has shown us that he's a good enough quarterback on the Eagles to go and win them some games before Carson Wentz comes back. So, I mean, let's say that Nick Foles starts the season and then Carson Wentz comes back. I mean, this team is going to be just fine, just as long as, the Eagles, let me put it this way, the Eagles are in a golden situation right now, okay? Carson Wentz, yeah, tore his ACL, yeah, it was bad, but let's say he comes back and he plays well like he did this year, he's an MVP candidate, all right? Let's say he comes back and he doesn't play well. Oh, wow, you have the guy that won the Super Bowl last year in your back pocket. Just throw Nick Foles out there. So with or without Carson Wentz, I still think that Philly does have a pretty good chance of getting back to the Super Bowl and doing well. All right? And I mean, again, it's all too early. This is all just off-season talk right now. But either way, getting back to it, I mean, you can't really count the Eagles out right now. They got a lot of their core players locked up, a lot of the young guys locked up for the future. So, I mean, the Eagles could be, I mean, like I said, I wouldn't put it past them getting back there this year. I wouldn't put it past them. If I had to say over or under 5 years for the Eagles getting back to the Super Bowl, I'd take the under on that. They're a real good team. They're a very well-coached team. All right, yeah, they lost a couple of people on their offensive staff, but I trust Doug Peterson enough to hire the right guys and pretty much to implement a nice little philosophy to where it's pretty much get in line, do your job, and it works out, kind of like how the Patriots do. All right, so I mean, as far as the Eagles getting back to the Super Bowl, I mean, I like their chances pretty good. Out of the 8 teams, I'm not gonna rank them yet. All right, let's just say I like Philly's chances of getting back to the Super Bowl sometime soon and winning it, I should say, all right, because this is about winning the Super Bowl. So I say Philly winning another Super Bowl soon. I wouldn't doubt it at all. All right, let's talk about the Super Bowl runner-ups, the fighting Tom Brady's. All right, so you had Josh McDaniels, who it was looking like, well, let's say this. You had Matt Patricia, who went to become the head coach of the Detroit Lions. Then it was looking like Josh McDaniels was going to become the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. And in true Josh McDaniels fashion, he says, never mind, I'm good. I'm going back to New England. And sure enough, here he is, back in New England, back as the offensive coordinator. All right, back as the guy who's going to call plays for Tom Brady. And the whole thing with Josh McDaniels coming back to New England, I just think that it's a matter of Bill Belichick telling him, hey, stick around. I'll be gone after this year, probably the year after. You'll become the head coach. Got a nice little job here. Got a nice little situation to come into. And you know what I think? I mean, I think Josh McDaniels, if that's the case, I mean, poor Josh McDaniels. Can you think about it. Josh McDaniels is eventually going to be the guy that has to follow up this dynasty once Bill Belichick leaves, okay? Because when Belichick leaves, chances are Brady won't be around for too much longer, or he'll just be gone as it is. All right, so Josh McDaniels, you got to take over this team that's been used to winning Super Bowl after Super Bowl. It feels like getting to AFC Championship after AFC Championship, literally. I think they've been there the last 8 years, okay? And you only got Brady for what? Let's say Josh McDaniels takes over in 2 years. Brady's only got about a year, 2 years left. All right, you still got to groom a quarterback. There's no doubt in my mind that the Patriots are taking a quarterback this year in the draft. All right, and as far as them going back and winning a Super Bowl, let me put it this way. All right, that window is open as long as Bill Belichick and Tom Brady are there. So they have about, I'd say, 3 more years at the most. 3 more years at the most to go out and win a Super Bowl. And there's a lot of good teams coming up in the league right now. A lot of young players, got a lot of young quarterbacks. We're going to be talking about the AFC South because that's pretty much full of young, good quarterbacks there. All right, let's put it this way. I mean, you got the Jaguars who you barely beat in the AFC Championship. You lost to the Eagles. How sure are we that New England's going to be able to get back to the Super Bowl? Because like I said, I mean, you got a lot of good teams coming up. Let me name some few off the top of my head, all right? As far as the AFC goes, I mean, you don't really got to worry about the AFC East too much if you're New England. You still got to worry about Pittsburgh, okay? The rest of those teams don't really scare me too much. And then the AFC South, those are 4 teams who have a chance at fighting for playoffs next year, all right, the AFC South. You got the Colts, who, if Andrew Luck comes back healthy, then they have all the chance in the world to make the playoffs. Houston Texans with Deshaun Watson, I think, might be one of the better teams in the league. Jacksonville, like I said, made it to the AFC Championship, got the best defense in the league. Arguably, you could say Philly does too. And the Tennessee Titans, who made the playoffs with a bad coach. All right. So, I mean, that's 4 teams right there you got to worry about. And then for the AFC West, I mean, you got to worry about the fighting John Gruden's in Oakland. You got to worry about the Chargers, who have been playing well. I mean, Tom Brady, I doubt he really worries about the Chargers too much, right? So, I guess. Chiefs, we're not really sure what they're going to be till we see Patrick Mahomes play a full game. That matters. And then Denver, if they're Kirk Cousins away from getting back to, dare I say, Super Bowl contenders, all right? So the Patriots really got a lot to worry about. And again, if you get back to the Super Bowl, you got to worry about it. You might be having to face a team like the Eagles. You might be going up against Aaron Rodgers. Maybe Matt Stafford somehow figures it out. All right, then you got 3 teams in the NFC South who play good football. All right, the Saints might be a team. That's going to be a team we talk about. We might just pivot over to them right now. And then for the NFC West, I mean, you get the Rams, the 49ers, and Seahawks. So the NFL, as far as a talent standpoint, is starting to catch up to the Patriots, I think. And the Patriots dynasty, I mean, like I said, once Belichick and Brady are gone within the next 3 years, that's it. Josh McDaniels isn't doing anything. All right, it's going to be real tough to follow that up. So, I mean, as far as if I had to say over or under 7 years for the Patriots winning a Super Bowl, I'm going to bank on them not winning it within the next 3 years. So I'm going to take the over on that. That's probably, I'm not sure really. Let's just say this. The Patriots dynasty might be faltering. Okay. So yeah, we talked about the Patriots there. Let's talk about the Saints. All right. We'll talk about the Saints and the Chiefs for the last 2 teams, and then we'll push the other 4 over to the next segment. All right, so let's talk about the Saints right now. You got Drew Brees, who's a free agent, looking like he's going to end up coming back to New Orleans, though. You got Mike Thomas, a top 5 receiver for me in the league, possibly even top 3 if I had to do my personal preference. You got a dynamic duo on the backfield with Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram. You got a nice little number 2 receiver in Ted Ginn, and then your defense is finally starting to play well. All right, this is the first time in a while Drew Brees has ever had a defense. And I mean, as far as New Orleans getting to the Super Bowl and winning it, they might just be one of the favorites in the NFC this upcoming season, all right? Because like I said, they're probably one of the more complete teams as far as all around in the league right now. I'd still take Philly over them. Let's see, who else would I take over them? I'll take a Green Bay team with Aaron Rodgers over them. But other than that, I mean, yeah, I'd take the Saints over the Rams right there. So yeah, the Saints are probably the 3rd best team. And again, this is all arguable as far as, like, especially talking about the Packers and Saints. But I mean, the Saints are going to be one of the best teams in the NFC next year, and I'm sure most people had them as NFC favorites for getting to the Super Bowl this year. Right? Obviously, it didn't work out because they were freak play away from making it to the NFC Championship. All right, if the safety makes that tackle, then they're there. And you know what? I guarantee you that the NFC Championship would have been a whole lot different than 38-7, like how Philly won against Minnesota. Philly probably would have ended up winning that one again, but I mean, it would have been a much different game. So as far as the Saints go, I mean, they got great chances of getting back to the Super Bowl within the next couple of years and winning one. I mean, you got Drew Brees, who they're going to be re-signing. I mean, he's like, 39 years old, but he hasn't really looked like he's taken too many steps down. Obviously, he's not the same quarterback that he was, but now you got a guy like Alvin Kamara and you got Mark Ingram back there to where you don't need to do too much, and you got a defense who's playing well. So I think that this team, as of right now, is built more for Drew Brees' strengths and pretty much gives them a better chance to go and win a Super Bowl. So the Saints got a great chance of getting there and winning one. And then as for the last team, the Kansas City Chiefs, I mean, this team has all the talent in the world. And one thing, too, I think they might be looking to trade Marcus Peters, their cornerback. I saw the Mike Florio Pro Football Talk tweet that out. They're thinking about it. So, I mean, you got to figure, I wonder, I don't know. I guess he might be a bit of a headache outside of off the football field, but I don't know. I don't really maybe he just, I don't know. I don't think he gets in trouble with the law or anything like that, unless I'm just not remembering correctly. So maybe it's just maybe it's just one of those locker room type of fits or something like that. But nonetheless, I mean, as far as the Chiefs going to Super Bowl and winning it, I'm not really liking their chances too much. I got to see what Patrick Mahomes does. All right, got to see what Kareem Hunt does in his second season. Tyreek Hill, we know what kind of player he is. We know what kind of player Travis Kelce is. And that defense is getting older, so they really got to fix that up. So, I mean, as far as the Chiefs getting to a Super Bowl and winning it, if I had to take the over-under on 5 years, I'd say, unless, this is a really hard question to answer because I'm not sure what kind of quarterback Patrick Mahomes is right now. But let's say Patrick Mahomes is a decent average quarterback, then I'll take the over on 5 years. If Patrick Mahomes is lighting everyone up in his first full season as a starter, then I say I'll still take the over, I guess, because there's a lot of good teams coming out. But either way, that's the 4 teams we talked about. Let's see, we talked about Philly, New England, New Orleans, and Kansas City. If I had to rank those 4 right now, I'd go Philly at number 1, New Orleans at number 2, New England at number 3, and Kansas City at number 4. But let me tell you this, Kansas City's odds and New England's odds, I think, aren't that different. All right, I'm really just not thinking that the Patriots are going to win the Super Bowl in the next 3 years. All right, and once that's over, I'm sure Belichick and Brady are going to be gone, and that's all she wrote after that. That's the end of the dynasty. So that's all I got to say about those 4 teams. Next segment, we'll be talking about the rest of the 4. All right, let's see. We did Chiefs, Patriots, Eagles, and Saints. We'll do Green Bay, Dallas, Rams, Pittsburgh Steelers. All right, so stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. In that first segment, we spent all of it talking about the Eagles, Patriots, Chiefs, and Saints, talking about their chances of getting back to the Super Bowl soon and winning one. We ranked them. I said Philly has the best chance. Coming in at second, I had New Orleans, then New England at third, and then Kansas City at 4. For this segment, we'll be talking about the Dallas Cowboys. America's team, I don't know. Is that New England now? I don't know. All right, we'll be talking about them, Green Bay, the Steelers, and the LA Rams. Okay, and that will complete all 32 teams we've talked about as far as their chances of getting back. Maybe we should just rank all 32 teams. Maybe we'll do that in the 4th segment, all right? But nonetheless, let's get it going, okay? Who do we want to start off with? Let's start off with the last team in the AFC, the Pittsburgh Steelers, okay? What are their chances looking like for getting to a Super Bowl and winning one anytime soon? All right, those chances get substantially better once they extend Le'Veon Bell to a long-term contract. All right, people are trying to say that Le'Veon Bell isn't worth $15 to $17 million dollars a year. Le'Veon Bell is worth whatever any team pays him. All right, if it was up to me, Yeah, I understand this is kind of unprecedented, giving a running back that kind of money. I think right now Devontae Freeman is the highest paid running back, making about $8 million a year. But Devontae Freeman does not come close to Le'Veon Bell. All right, Devontae Freeman could not clean the dirt off of Le'Veon Bell's cleats. Okay, he's not worthy enough. There's not even on that same tier. All right, if I had to rank running backs right now, I don't even think Devontae Freeman is a top 5 running back for me. And I'm not trying to bash on Devontae Freeman, all right? Devontae Freeman, if you're listening, sorry, it is what it is. But nonetheless, I mean, as far as top 5 running backs it goes Le'Veon Bell, David Johnson, or Ezekiel Elliott. So that's 2 and 3 right there. Then I'll go Todd Gurley, and then LaShawn McCoy. Those are my top 5 running backs, all right? I'm not even sure if I think Devontae Freeman is better than Jordan Howard, if we're being real here. Okay, Devontae Freeman, a good running back, but so was Jordan Howard. But getting back to it, talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers, all right? They need to lock up Le'Veon Bell long term. Don't overthink it. Don't be cheap, all right? Le'Veon Bell is without a doubt the best running back in the league. He's a game changer, a franchise changer, all right? Do not overthink it. Do not franchise tag him because I highly doubt he will be playing under the franchise tag. All right, so as far as that goes, they got to extend him if they want any chance of getting to a Super Bowl and winning it, all right? I'm sure Pittsburgh Steelers fans in the front office thinks maybe, hey, they're going to try and talk themselves out of pretty much thinking, or they're going to talk themselves into thinking, yeah, we could do it without Le'Veon Bell. I mean, running backs are recyclable. Pretty much you don't need a top running back to go out and play well. Yeah, I guess. But you're really going to, the drop-off from Le'Veon Bell to whoever they throw in thereafter would be huge. All right, so they got to re-sign Le'Veon Bell. You got to extend him. All right, maybe I think they're probably going to be getting rid of Martavis Bryant. There's not really a fit for him on that team. I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster is without a doubt the second best receiver on that team. Martavis Bryant has all the talent in the world, but just didn't put it together at all this season. And maybe he just got outplayed by Smith-Schuster, and that's what it was. All right, and as far as that defense goes, they got to fix that up big time. All right, they gave up, 44 points, 45 points to the fighting Blake Bortles. All right, so you got to worry about that. You're not getting back to the Super Bowl or winning one until you get that defense at least a little fixed up. I feel like that secondary has been bad since, I guess you could go about the last decade, probably. All right, you got to fix up the defensive line a bit. You got TJ Watt out there playing outside linebacker. That's a nice little piece right there. Congrats on getting rid of James Harrison. That's old news, though, so I won't even get into that. But as far as the Steelers getting back to the Super Bowl and winning one, I mean, if you extend Le'Veon Bell and you bring in a couple of good little players to play on defense, they got a really good chance. I think one of the biggest reasons why they didn't get to a Super Bowl this year is because their defense let them down. All right, they're not far off. You got one of the best coaches in the league, probably the second, third best coach in the league, definitely a top 5 coach in Mike Tomlin. You got one of the not best quarterbacks of all time, but one of the best quarterbacks of the last decade in this league, probably since the last 15 years, I guess you could say, however long 2005 was, or 2004, whenever he started. All right, you got him. You got the best player in the NFL, Antonio Brown. Yeah, he's the best player, and that's not up for debate at all, so don't debate it. All right, and you got a nice little offensive line. So the Steelers really just got to extend Le'Veon Bell and fix up their defense, and they have all the chance in the world to go to the Super Bowl this year and win it. All right, if you were to tell me, oh yeah, the Steelers are winning the Super Bowl in 2018, cool. Doesn't really shock me or anything like that. All right, but if you're telling me that the Steelers are going to win the Super Bowl this year without Le'Veon Bell and now are they going to make too many changes on defense, then I'm going to laugh in your face. All right, so yeah, the Steelers, as far as getting to a Super Bowl anytime soon and winning one, their chances are looking pretty good, but they have to do the things that I said. All right, you got to extend Le'Veon Bell and you got to fix up that defense. I don't care how much it costs. Get the deal done with Le'Veon Bell. I get the Steelers don't normally pay their players, but sometimes you got to go against what you believe in. Okay, so there's the Steelers. Now let's talk about the LA Rams. All right, let's move over to California. Talk about that Rams team. First off, what they need to do: change the uniforms, go back to the throwbacks. That's first and foremost. Okay, go back to those. I mean, the yellow and the light blue, whatever you want to call it. Not light blue. Would it be navy blue? Either way, go back to the throwbacks. All right, that's what the people need. Okay, but in all seriousness, as far as the Rams getting back to the Super Bowl or getting to the Super Bowl and winning it, I mean, it's going to happen within the next 5 years probably. All right. I mean, let's put it this way. You got a quarterback who played extremely well in his second season, way better than he did in his first season. You got one of the best running backs in the league. You do need to fix up that wide receiving wide receiver corps. I mean, Sammy Watkins ain't getting the job done. Robert Woods plays well at home. So I guess Robert Woods, you could probably turn him into a number 2. You already got Cooper Kupp. Yeah, that's all the Rams need is just a true number 1 receiver, and maybe Robert Woods could be that. All right, he played extremely well in his first season with the Rams. Maybe he gets even better in his second season. So I guess maybe bringing a number 2 receiver with Cooper Kupp playing the slot. All right, offensive line looked good this year. Maybe do whatever you can to fix that up a bit because you can never be too good at the offensive line position. And then as far as the defense goes, I mean, keep it together. Keep the unit together. Don't change anything up. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when for the Rams, okay? They're a real young team, and that's why they lost in the wild card game this year against the Falcons. I mean, if you on paper, the Rams were the better team or are the better team, but there's a whole experience factor, and that's why pretty much I think that's one of the biggest reasons why the Rams ended up losing that game. So, I mean, as far as the Rams getting to a Super Bowl and winning it, like I said, it's just a matter of when, not if, all right? So as far as the Rams, pretty much just get older and develop still. That's pretty much all they got to do. Now let's talk about the Green Bay Packers, all right? What do the Green Bay Packers need to do to get to the Super Bowl and win it? You got to keep Aaron Rodgers healthy. All right, keep fixing up that defense. Don't really need a new running back or anything like that because Rodgers is pretty much going to do whatever he wants. I don't know. As far as the Packers getting back to the Super Bowl, it's pretty much depends on Aaron Rodgers. All right, it's all on his shoulders. Okay, you got number 1 receiver in Devontae Adams. I say cut Jordy Nelson. I think this is going to be the last year of his deal. He's got 2 more years. Both him and Randall Cobb's deals expire at the same time. So I say get rid of Nelson, keep Cobb. Because I think Cobb has more to offer still than Nelson does, right? Nelson was pretty bad this season. And even when Aaron Rodgers came back for that last game, I mean, he was nowhere to be found. And I don't even think he was really doing too much before Rodgers got hurt too, unless I'm just completely forgetting. All right, I remember in that game against the Panthers, Randall Cobb played extremely well. So, I mean, I'd say keep Cobb, make Devontae Adams your number 1 and probably look for another receiver in the drafts in those middle rounds. All right, probably got to fix up the offensive line a bit and pretty much keep developing that secondary. Probably go look for a linebacker or 2 and hope the defensive line keeps playing well. But as far as the Packers getting back to the Super Bowl and winning it, it's not a matter of what do they need to do to fix, like what do they need to do in the draft to get there. It's pretty much just it all depends on what Aaron Rodgers wants to do, okay? Aaron Rodgers is going to take them to the playoffs this year if he's healthy for the entire year. He's going to take them to the playoffs, that's no doubt. They'll probably be competing for a number 1, number 2 seed or probably near there. And I'm sure they'll win a playoff game or 2 possibly this year. So, I mean, as far as the Packers go, it's pretty much, it's not a matter of what they need to do. It's just a matter of how they need to do it. All right. So, I mean, as far as the Packers getting to Super Bowl and winning it, it could happen at any given moment. It could happen this year. It could happen next year. All right. So we'll see. I mean, they do got to extend Aaron Rodgers though. And I know that Aaron Rodgers has been rubbed the wrong way as far as what the Packers have done when they fired his quarterback's coach and they even talked to him about it. I mean, it's one of the dumbest moves you can make as a franchise. So we'll see what goes on with them. I know Rodgers has 2 more years on his deal. So maybe he gets an extension or maybe he says, I'm not going to sign an extension. I'm going to become a free agent or trade me somewhere. So we'll see what ends up with the Packers. And then for the final team, all right, what used to be America's team, well, I guess I'd still consider them America's team, all right? My grandpa's a big Cowboys fan. He always told me when I was a little kid, Dallas Cowboys is America's team, all right? People try to say it's the Patriots now, but I'm not ready for all that. So I'd say, yeah, Dallas still America's team. When is Dallas going to get to a Super Bowl and win it, all right? When is that going to happen? Okay, you had the Tony Romo years where you'd be happy to get to the playoffs and hope that he didn't choke so bad that it just broke your heart. All right, they've been holding on to the 90s quite a while. And pretty much I've been like, oh, the Dallas Cowboys, that's a great team. Well, what have they done since the 90s? All right, it's pretty much, they're like the New York Yankees. All right, at least the Yankees have won something in the MLB. I think 2009 was their last World Series. Well, than that, you hear Yankees fans, oh, we got rings from so and so and so, the olden times. All right, that's pretty much how the Cowboys are. But they do have a nice little squad, okay? I think they're going to be franchise tagging DeMarcus Lawrence so they can work out a new deal. If not, he'll just play under the tag, I believe. And you got a Dak Prescott. You got a quarterback in him who played extremely well in his first year and took that second-year dip that a lot of the rookie quarterbacks do, okay? I know that we killed Dak Prescott a lot this season, and I do think that he is poor man's Alex Smith still, like a game manager type. But I know he plays a whole lot better when Ezekiel Elliott's out there, and this team as a whole plays a whole lot better when Ezekiel Elliott's out there. All right, don't forget they're both of their rookie years. The Cowboys went 13-3 and were a Mason Crosby field goal away, or a Mason Crosby missed field goal away from making it to the NFC Championship game, I believe. All right, so I mean, Dallas, they're on the up and coming right now. They got to keep building that team. Got to figure out what to do with Dez Bryant. Got to see if he could elevate his play a little bit more and pretty much fix up that secondary and defense. All right, within the next 3 years, Dallas isn't winning a Super Bowl, but maybe they could get one after those couple of years, unless they fix up this defense a whole lot quicker than I think. And Dez Bryant probably gets back to the Dez Bryant we all used to love watch playing. All right, so as far as Dallas getting to a Super Bowl and winning it, they're on the right track, all right? I'm not sure when it'll happen or if it'll ever happen. Well, I don't know. It's kind of weird as far as thinking when teams can win the Super Bowl in the future, because I'm not even sure how long the NFL is going to be around for. But nonetheless, I mean, the Cowboys, they're on the right track, okay? So let's rank these teams. We'll rank the 8 teams, talk about who has the best chances to who has the worst. So let's start off from 8, and we'll go to number 1, all right? I have Kansas City at number 8. Then I have Dallas at number 7. All right, this is going to be tough because there's a lot of good teams we're talking here. Dallas at number 7. Then I'll go New England at number 6. All right, I'm going to ruffle some feathers there. Pittsburgh at number 5. Okay. I'll go the Rams at number 5. Pittsburgh at number 4. I'll go Green Bay at number 4. Pittsburgh at number 3. New Orleans at number 2, and Philly at number 1, okay? So just to go from top to bottom this time from one day, I got Philly number 1, New Orleans at number 2, Pittsburgh at number 3, Green Bay at number 4, LA at number 5, New England at number 6, Dallas at number 7, and Kansas City at number 8, all right? So those are my rankings for teams who have the best chances to go and win a Super Bowl in the near future, all right? So that's going to wrap it up for this segment. Next up, we're going to be talking about Doug Martin and AFC South quarterbacks, maybe talking about a couple of divisions, seeing who has the best crop of quarterbacks there. All right, so stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA, from the UFC to extreme cage fighting. They got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to your favorite podcast, my favorite podcast, everyone's favorite podcast, the GSMC Football Podcast. Note that that's not an official statement or anything like that. All right, that is unofficial. Don't go sue us or anything like that. So this is how the shows went so far. We've talked about 4 teams for each segment. We talked about, let's see, who did we talk about the first segment? We talked about Philly, we talked about New England, we talked about KC, and we talked about New Orleans. And for the second segment, we talked about Dallas, Green Bay, the Rams, and the Steelers. All right, talked about their chances of getting to a Super Bowl anytime soon and winning one. Then I gave my rankings, and I had the Eagles as the best chance at number 1, then New Orleans at number 2, Pittsburgh at number 3, the Packers at number 4, LA as in the Rams at number 5, New England at number 6, at number 7 Dallas, and then at number 8 Kansas City. All right, don't take it personal, Patriots fans. I just don't think you're going to be getting one within the next 3 years, and you're definitely not getting one with Josh McDaniels as the head coach. I hope no one believes that. All right, no one thinks that he will win one, because he's not. All right, so for this segment, we're going to head over to the AFC South. We're going to talk about that little quarterback situation they got over there. All right, they got a lot of good quarterbacks. Might be the best division as far as quarterbacks go, and could possibly be the best division in football this upcoming season, all right? So let's talk about them. Let's give my thoughts, all right? So look at it this way. You got Houston Texans. They got Deshaun Watson. Indianapolis Colts. When he's healthy, you got Andrew Luck. Jacksonville Jaguars. You got Blake Bortles. All right, and then at Tennessee, you got Marcus Mariota. Who is the best quarterback in that division, okay? Is it Blake Bortles? Let's talk about Blake Bortles, all right? Let's talk about Blake. Is he the best quarterback in that division? No. Is he the worst quarterback in that division? Yeah. Is he necessarily a terrible quarterback? No. All right. Blake Bortles has talent, believe it or not. All right. I know it sounds weird for me saying that because I've been down on Blake Bortles since I can remember. All right. I'm not anti-Blake Bortles. I am anti-Jeff Fisher, but nonetheless, getting back to it. All right. Blake Bortles has shown flashes of the type of player he could be. All right. Flashes. That's it. Not been able to sustain consistent success. Okay. Yeah. He played well in the playoffs, but can he do it over 16 games? Okay. Let me tell you something. All right. I'm not trying to be too harsh on him or anything like that, but that defense and Leonard Fournette is what got the Jaguars to the playoffs. Okay. Sometimes, as I like to say, they were playing the opposing team and they were playing against Blake Bortles. All right. You got to win in spite of Blake Bortles. Okay. So as far as him being a good quarterback, I don't think so. I don't think he's necessarily a terrible quarterback. He's pretty much like the definition of, he's below average. He's a below average quarterback. All right. I don't know. Is he below average or is he average? Is he a C or is he a C minus pretty much? All right. And I'm not sure. I mean, Blake Bortles, like I said, he did show flashes of the kind of quarterback he could be in the playoffs. But, I mean, I don't know. It's like I just don't trust him enough to think that he could go and sustain it over a full season and pretty much show that, yeah, I can be a good quarterback in this league. And I guess we're just going to have to wait and see what he does this season because, I mean, Jacksonville did commit to him being their quarterback for this upcoming season. But, I mean, I take that with a grain of salt because you can never trust what these NFL guys say. I mean, especially with the connecting it to the NBA too, you can never trust what any of these leagues say, right? One day you have an NBA team sign a Blake Griffin long-term, pretty much fake retiring his jersey into the Raptors saying this could be you, and then they'll ship him to Detroit, all right? I mean, man, that's brutal. Imagine you're in LA and then, oh, we traded you to Detroit. All right. Imagine being rich in Detroit, or imagine being rich in LA and then going to being rich in Detroit. There's a big difference. All right. Being rich in Detroit, I feel, isn't as fun as being rich in LA. But nonetheless, getting back to football. All right. So, yeah, as far as Blake Bortles goes, probably the worst quarterback in that division. But, I mean, he's not a terrible quarterback or anything like that. I don't know. You just got to put it all together. Then who's the third? All right, we're going to talk as if Andrew Luck is healthy too, all right? So who's the third best quarterback? I don't know. I feel like people would be more inclined to say that it's Deshaun Watson and Marcus Mariota would be probably the second or first best quarterback in this division. But I'm going to go ahead and say that Marcus Mariota is the third best quarterback in this division, okay? So Marcus Mariota, for his first 2 years of his NFL career, was a monster in the red zone as far as scoring touchdowns and not turning the ball over. And then this year, I mean, it was a complete 180 from how his career has gone so far. All right, this year I think he was third in the NFL in interceptions with 15, I believe. Only threw about maybe 12 touchdowns, I think. I know it was a low number. Really, Marcus Mariota really just did not play well for the entire season, all right? I mean, it's pretty much like you were waiting for him to do something, waiting for him to play well, and it just wasn't happening, okay? I drafted him in my fantasy team like with the 10th pick in my draft or whatever, like 10th round, I mean, not actual 10th pick in the first round. All right, I'm not a crazy person. All right, so yeah, I drafted him like the 10th round of my draft. Thought, yeah, it's going to be a steal right there. I'm going to have a nice little quarterback. And the dude just stunk it up all year. Not even talking about fantasy, just getting back to real football. I mean, he just stunk it up. All right, it was either, I mean, I think his favorite stat line was throwing for a touchdown and 2 interceptions and throwing barely over 200 yards. All right, that was the Marcus Mariota special this season. But I do like what they did this year as far as head coaching and offensive coordinator hires. All right, you hired Mike Vrabel. I think it's going to be a guy who could get the team like pretty much shape up the culture and fix it up there. And then they hired Matt LaFleur, I believe his name is, the offensive coordinator from the Rams, was the quarterback's coach for Matt Ryan during his MVP season. And this year, I mean, he made Jared Goff look like I said, speaking of 180s, you had Jared Goff, right? Played terrible in his first year. People were throwing around the bust tag and played extremely well in the second year, all right? So, I mean, Matt LaFleur has done well with quarterbacks, and maybe he's going to be able to fix Marcus Mariota and pretty much get him back on track. So, right now, I got Marcus Mariota as the third best quarterback in that division. And then for my second best quarterback, again, talking about if all these guys were healthy, it's going to be Deshaun Watson, okay? Deshaun Watson was a rookie this past year, obviously. Tore his ACL in practice, one of the sadder moments of the season. Dude was lighting it up, playing like a top 10 quarterback in the league, pretty much throwing for over 400 yards whenever he pleased, throwing for more than 3 touchdowns whenever he pleased, just doing whatever he wanted, all right? Was battling it out with the Seahawks, was battling it out with guys like Tom Brady and all the other good quarterbacks in this league. amongst the teams that he played. All right, so he was playing well, and I think that, if he didn't tear his ACL, he would have finished as a top 10 quarterback, and he very well could have been a top 5 quarterback this upcoming season, all right? But now we got to wait and see. But as far as talent goes and as far as health goes, not health, but like I said, if these guys were all healthy, from a talent standpoint, I'd take Deshaun Watson over Marcus Mariota in a heartbeat, all right? The dude just makes everyone around him better, okay? Look at what the Texans offense did with Tom Savage and all those other guys they had there, and look what they did with Deshaun Watson. All right, because with Tom Savage, he still had a DeAndre Hopkins to throw to. You still had a Lamar Miller in the backfield. You still had a Will Fuller. Right, Will Fuller. It's a perfect example of someone playing better because they're quarterback. Right, Will Fuller with Deshaun Watson was like. Dude was for every 2 catches he made, all right, that was a touchdown. All right, for every second catch, he had a touchdown. It felt like. All right, and then once Deshaun Watson goes down, Will Fuller goes back to being the one-trick pony, which he is. He can only run a deep route. He's not a good route runner or anything like that, has okay hands, but Deshaun Watson made him a whole lot better than I think what he actually was. All right, so as far as that goes, as far as the offense goes, the Texans are a whole lot better when Deshaun Watson's on the field, and I feel like when you got a good quarterback out there and the dude's driving down the field constantly, your defense is going to benefit from that because they don't have to be on the field constantly either. So yeah, Deshaun Watson is the second best quarterback in that division, and then obviously for the number 1 quarterback in that division, it is Andrew Luck. All right, let's not forget. I feel like we've all pretty much taken our eye off of Andrew Luck, forgot the kind of quarterback he is when he's healthy. Okay, and it feels like he's been gone for 5 years. All right, feels like he just pretty much disappeared. But no, he's only been gone for 2 years. I think the last time he was out there is when he made the AFC Championship the year before he got hurt. All right, yeah, so that was what, 2014? Yeah, 2014, gets hurt in 2015, and then has been out, or was he in the AFC Championship 2015, get hurt 2016, was out then, and then was out for 2017. I think that's how it went. But either way, when Andrew Luck's out there, the dude is one of the best quarterbacks in the league by far. All right, he's on that Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers type level there when he's healthy. All right, let's not forget, he took this terrible Colts team to the AFC Championship a couple years ago. Like I said, yeah, they got blown out. What was it, like 40-47, I think. That was Deflategate. And again, I'll say it again, Deflategate, one of the biggest wastes of time of all time, I should say. All right, but nonetheless, getting back to Andrew Luck, when he's out there, no one can really be better than him. All right. Everyone forgets too, Andrew Luck, yeah, he could throw the ball, but he could take off and use his legs too and pretty much get some yards on the ground also. So Andrew Luck, without a doubt, the best quarterback in that division. And I hope he's healthy once week 1 comes around, because this Colts team, I don't know, they don't got like a lot of talent or anything like that. But I feel like let's say they take Saquon Barkley with their number 2 pick, I think it is, or the number 3 pick. And Andrew Luck is healthy week 1, that's going to be one of the best offenses in the league, all right? So, yeah, Andrew Luck is, without a doubt, the best quarterback in that division when he's healthy, all right? So, yeah, I was talking about the AFC South and their quarterbacks. Is there any division outside of there that is better than them, all right? Let's look at the AFC West. Denver Broncos haven't had a quarterback for 2 years, all right? Kansas City Chiefs, they got Patrick Mahomes. Chargers got Phillip Rivers, and the Raiders got Derek Carr. Nowhere that is not as good as the AFC South quarterback situation. In the AFC North, you got Deshaun Kaiser, you got Andy Dalton, you got Joe Flacco, the most overrated quarterback of all time, and then you got Big Ben. So only one real good quarterback in that division. AFC East, Buffalo is looking like they're going to get rid of Tyrod Taylor. The Dolphins haven't really had a quarterback since Dan Marino. All right. New England Patriots, obviously, they got that Tom Brady guy. The New York Jets haven't had a solid, decent quarterback since Chad Pennington. All right. NFC East, you got Dak Prescott, you got Eli, you got Nick Foles, Carson Wentz, and you got Alex Smith. That's a pretty good division for quarterbacks right there. NFC North, you got Mitch Trubisky, Stafford, Rodgers, and it's looking like Keenum. That's a nice little division there too. South, you got Matt Ryan, Cam Newton. Ooh, the NFC South might be better than the AFC South as far as quarterbacks go. You got, like I said, Matt Ryan, Cam Newton, Drew Brees, and Jameis Winston. All right, and let me say this, okay? I would take Jameis Winston over Marcus Mariota. I feel like Jameis Winston is right on the cusp of becoming a great quarterback. All he's got to do is limit his turnovers, right? He just needs the right coach to do that. So I like, as far as the talent standpoint, I like Jameis Winston a whole lot better than Marcus Mariota. And I've liked Jameis Winston better than Marcus Mariota since both were coming out into the draft. All right, Jameis Winston is without a doubt one of my favorite college football players of all time. NFC West, you got no quarterback right now with the Cardinals. You got Jared Goff. You got Jimmy Garoppolo. Russell Wilson in Seattle. I'll still take the NFC South over the NFC West. So if I had to say, I still say the AFC South. I think I'm going to go with the NFC South, all right? The NFC South has all good quarterbacks. The AFC South has a couple of good quarterbacks, a great quarterback, and a below-average quarterback in Blake Bortles. So I'll take the NFC South, actually, for being the division of quarterbacks. All right, so that's going to wrap it up for this segment, actually. For the next one, we'll be talking about Doug Martin a bit and talking about anything else going on in the world of football. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts, past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
And welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. All right. So far in today's show, let's see, what have we talked about? We talked about the remaining 8 teams for making it to Super Bowl and winning it within the near future. All right, we talked about we talked about the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Packers, the Saints, the Rams, the Patriots, the Steelers, and the Chiefs. All right, so we did that, ranked them. Again, going back in order, I had the Eagles as the best chances at number 1, then at number 2, the Saints. At number 3, the Steelers. At number 4, the Packers. At number 5, the Rams. At number 6, the Patriots. At number 7, the Cowboys. And at number 8, the Chiefs. All right, maybe on Thursday's show we can rank all 32 teams, but that's going to take a while, so we'll figure out how we do that. But nonetheless, that's what we did for the first 2 segments. In the third segment, we talked about the quarterbacks of the AFC South. All right, ranked them, talked about them a bit, talked about each of them. All right, I think I had Blake Bortles being number 4, Marcus Mariota at number 3, Deshaun Watson at number 2, and Andrew Luck at number 1. All right. Looked around, saw if there was any division with a better set of quarterbacks, and turns out it is the NFC South. All right, and also said that I'd take Jameis Winston over Marcus Mariota. All right, and let's talk a little bit about that, okay? I remember these two had a little bit of a, not even a true rivalry, but a bit of a media rivalry, all right? The media propped up this story about who's the better quarterback, Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota. All right, I'd go as far to say that Jameis Winston had the better college career. All right, Jameis Winston only lost, 2 times at Florida State. Marcus Mariota, don't really know how many times he lost. Doesn't matter because Jameis Winston has a national title. And if I remember correctly, Marcus Mariota does not have a national title, okay? So, going out of college, I always thought that Jameis Winston is better. I always thought he was more of a pure passer, better quarterback. And I think it was pretty close in their first 2 seasons as far as who was the better quarterback. And then for the third season for each of them, they both played poorly, all right? Marcus Mariota, I'm not sure really why they both played poorly, but nonetheless they did, all right? Marcus Mariota, like I said, was 3rd in the NFL in interceptions. I'm sure Jameis Winston had to be somewhere up there because, it's Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston's biggest problem is that he makes too many mistakes, all right? He's not smart enough to keep from making those mistakes. That's what it is, all right? Jameis Winston doesn't know when to throw the ball away. He doesn't know when to take the sack, all right? He doesn't know when to pretty much take the check down, all right? If Jameis Winston was smarter, he'd be one of the best quarterbacks, one of the better quarterbacks in the league, right? I think right now Jameis Winston is a good quarterback, but he's close to being a great quarterback. And as far as Marcus Mariota goes, Marcus Mariota has never really excited me or anything like that. And I know this is all just my opinion, so you can take it with a grain of salt. But nonetheless, just Marcus Mariota hasn't really been that quarterback. Doesn't really move the needle or anything like that. I think he's a good quarterback in the league, but I don't think he could ever be in that top 10 level or even top 5, all right? I think Jameis Winston could be a top 10 quarterback, and if he ever fixed up the turnovers and stuff like that and pretty much was more of a smarter quarterback, he could be a top 5 quarterback, after the likes of Tom Brady and all those other guys, old guys retire. So, as of right now, I'd still take Jameis Winston on my team over Marcus Mariota, okay? You can agree with me. I'm sure most disagree with me as far as that goes. But I've always thought that Jameis Winston was a better quarterback than Marcus Mariota. All right, and speaking of Tampa Bay, they cut Doug Martin. All right, Doug Martin was suspended for the first 4 games of the season this year. And, I mean, first couple of games he played well, but then after that, I mean, really didn't do too much. Doug Martin the last few years, I mean, if I looked at his career rushing numbers stats, his yards numbers have gone down every year, I believe, right? I saw a stat like that. Yeah, I think his numbers have gone down like each of the last 4 years, I believe. So Doug Martin is really starting to lose it a bit at the running back position. He went out and said that he feels that he can still contribute to a team and he still wants to play and stuff like that. So, I mean, Doug Martin's going to end up on a team. Maybe he can end up with a team like the Jets, possibly I can see him ending up with a team like the Seahawks, right? That's like the perfect fit. The Seahawks don't really like running backs. And they really haven't had a solid running back in quite a while. I mean, since Marshawn Lynch left them. But I think Doug Martin would be the ultimate fit there. You're not going to have to pay too much for Doug Martin. All right, he already knows how to play in the league. All right, been around for a while. So I think if I had to make a pick, I'd say Seattle goes after Doug Martin. All right, and as far as what Tampa Bay does at the running back position, there's been people talking about how they have the cap space to go and get a guy like Le'Veon Bell. Okay, and it's not too far off. Okay, let's say that the Steelers franchise Le'Veon Bell, and he says, I'm not playing for you guys. I mean, Tampa Bay could very well just offer up a first-round pick for him, or even a second and third-round pick separately or whatever for Le'Veon Bell, and I'm sure the Steelers would do it, all right? Because obviously if the Steelers aren't going to pay him, there's got to be a team that wants to, all right? I'm sure that the Bucks, they're a team with a lot of cap space, and, I mean, they got their quarterback, you already got your receivers, you got your tight end. Obviously, you got to fix up the defense, but defensive players are cheap in this league. So I say, go ahead, throw $17 million a year at Le'Veon Bell. And if Tampa Bay were to somehow get Le'Veon Bell, then that makes them a playoff team right off the bat. All right, that makes Jameis Winston play a whole lot better. All right, because you don't need Jameis Winston with the ball in his hands constantly. He can go out and give it up to Le'Veon Bell. And when it's time for Jameis to throw the ball, Jameis can throw the ball. And I'm sure with that way, when you're limiting the amount of times Jameis Winston gets to throw the ball, you're limiting his turnovers also. So I think that's a good little fit right there, all right? It makes a lot of sense. And I doubt it happens just because, I mean, like the Steelers, they have to pay Le'Veon Bell, right? Like they have to. It'd be idiotic for them not to. All right, I get that no running back makes that kind of money, but, I mean, no coach made $10 million a year, and then John Gruden did. So, I mean, it's all changed. It's going to be a new precedent. Running backs are going to start getting paid a whole lot more, but Le'Veon Bell is worth it. There's not really anyone in the league who could do what he does besides, I guess, Todd Gurley, but Todd Gurley doesn't do it as nearly as well as Le'Veon Bell does. And I'm talking about running in between the tackles, being patient, running outside the tackles, and also receiving the ball at the backfield, all right? Le'Veon Bell could give you 100 yards in rushing and 100 yards receiving, along with 8 catches and a couple of touchdowns, all right? He's that kind of running back. That's how Todd Gurley was used this season, but I just think Le'Veon Bell is better at that than Todd Gurley is. So, I mean, as far as it goes, like I said, Tampa Bay with Le'Veon Bell would be a playoff team without a doubt. All right, and Pittsburgh would be dumb to let a guy like Le'Veon Bell go just because you don't want to pay him and you want to be cheap. All right, so there's that going on. I mean, there's not really too much going on in the world of the NFL right now. Okay, I mean, college football too. It's really not too much going on either. We already did signing day and all that. I mean, there's a report coming out that the Jets were really willing to give up whatever it took to get a guy like Kirk Cousins, pretty much saying they'll pay him whatever he wants. And that's what kind of scares me, all right? The Jets, I don't really see as a team where Kirk Cousins fits in too well, all right? Like the Jets, they have a whole lot more problems on that team than at quarterback, all right? Obviously, quarterback is the biggest problem, but all right, you got to worry about the running back position. You got to fix up at the wide receiver position. You still need a tight end because I'm not sure if Austin Seferian-Jenkins is going to be back there this upcoming year. All right, offensive line I think needs some tweaking. And the defense, I mean, the defense looked good this year. Maybe a couple holes that you got to fix there, here, and there on the defense, but not really too much, all right? If you bring in Kirk Cousins, I just don't think that they really have enough to be a successful team with Kirk. I think you give Kirk Cousins $140 million contract or whatever, $30 million a year, something like that. And I just don't think, I think that the Jets would be the worst possible fit for Kirk Cousins, and Kirk Cousins would be like the worst possible fit for the Jets, if that makes sense. They're just not a match, I feel. So I really don't want to see Kirk Cousins going to the Jets because I just feel it's not going to work out there. I feel like his talent would be better utilized with a team like the Denver Broncos or even Browns. And Kirk Cousins, like the odds for Kirk, which teams could have the best chance to sign Kirk Cousins came out. And I think it was the Jets actually with the best odds. Then let me see if I can find it out again. Let me see if I can find it. I think it was the Broncos at second. Let's see. Kirk Cousins odds. Let me see if I can find it again. All right, so you got it right here. All right, so Jets have the best odds, then the Broncos, then the Cardinals. That could be a good team for Kirk Cousins there, right? The way they run their offense there and all the weapons they got out there, pretty much I feel fits Kirk Cousins' talent more than the Jets would. All right, so you get the Cardinals with the third best odds, then the Bills with the fourth best odds, the Jaguars tied with the Bills at 12-1 odds right there, and then you got the Dolphins and Giants. All right, the Dolphins have the sixth best odds, are tied for fifth, I guess, if you want to say that the Jaguars are tied for fourth with Buffalo, all right? That kind of surprised me right there, seeing the Dolphins as the fifth best odds to sign a guy like Kirk Cousins. I really don't see how that would work, and I mean, you got Tannehill there who's already locked up unless somehow there's a clause in his contract where if you release him by a certain date, you don't got to pay him any more, anything left on his contract. So maybe that's something like that, but I don't really understand the fit there. And even with the Giants, I don't understand the fit there. But Vegas knows more than we do, all right? So, I mean, as far as the Kirk Cousins sweepstakes, I think it's going to come down to the Jets, the Broncos, the Cardinals, or the Browns. But I doubt it'll be the Browns. The Browns will probably end up with a guy like A.J. McCarron. But that's going to wrap it up for today's show. Today we talked about 8 teams, 4 in the first segment, 4 in the second segment. Talked about their chances of getting to a Super Bowl anytime soon and winning one. All right, so we did that. For the third segment, we talked about the quarterbacks of the AFC South. And then for this last segment, we talked a bit about Marcus Mariota and Jameis Winston. Talked about Doug Martin getting cut and talked a bit about Kirk Cousins, and as far as pretty much talked about the Jets and pretty much everyone else's odds to sign him. All right, so that's going to wrap it up for the GSMC Football Podcast. As always, I'm your host Jesse Tapia. Thanks for listening. We'll be back on Thursday, so stay tuned, and we'll talk to you later.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.